Hi everyone, good morning. I've got my sister on the lookout to make sure, and I should be receiving a text message any minute now with either a thumbs up or a thumbs down as to whether you can hear me and see me. Hang on, let's just double check. Uh, well, anyway, if there's no text message, but I've got two thumbs up at the moment. Feel free to comment in the comments box. I think it's the live on the right of the screen. It should be underneath Love Grove Essentials. There should be a comment thing there. So if you want to comment, oh, there's a thumbs up there as well. Okay. So that little video that I posted was the last time that my sister and I were in Pune, India, where the Iyengar family live, and where BKS Iyengar was stationed when he first started to teach yoga. And it's where all our collective knowledge comes from, as well as from the teachers the pioneer teachers that went out there in the 70s, 60s and 70s and 80s and really learned from the feet of the master. So I want to point that out, that I'm trying to share with you the knowledge that I've learned from my teachers, the shoulders that I've stood on. So I'm paying my respects to Guruji and Kisuji and all of my senior teachers for really giving me this amazing life of yoga practice. And hopefully these sessions and my teaching will just be my way of sharing with you my tiny little nugget of knowledge that I have. So I've got some questions. I'm going to go over the two questions that were obliterated by the sound problem last week, just very quickly to recap on those. And there's a few other questions that were in there as well. But if you've got anything you want to add, feel free to put it in the chat. I might not see it depending on the software setup because I'm still quite new at this. But if you do have any questions and I don't answer them, then just email me afterwards and I'll do my best. Okay, so we're going to start off with question one, which was Marilyn's question from last week about Supta Padangusthasana. So again, I'm not going to demonstrate these. I'm just going to quickly recap over what we discussed. So her question was about Supta Padangusthasana. What difference does it make when where the belt goes around the foot, big toe, mound, heel, in between? Is there an optimal place for the belt to open out the knee more? Well, it's a very, very good question. This is Supta Padangusthasana, this pose here that I'm in, my leopard print leggings. And here I've got the belt on it's really on the front of the arch towards the roots of the toes. It's a standard place to have. But yes, there is a difference between all of the different places that we put the belt. There's a different effect. So this is my sister's lovely feet. Here we are. The first picture at the top left there is with the belt on the ball of the toes. Now, if you place the belt there and you really do resist the belt into the foot there, you can see she's got a really good spread of the toes, spread of the roots of the toes, so that every part of the foot is in contact with the belt there. And as she extends the heel up, that will obviously have an effect on the muscles of the front shin and on the extension of the calf, and therefore will help the back of the knee to open a little bit more there. But it's mainly, that would really help to open the lower leg part, the calf muscle, to extend there. The second photo with the belt on the heel bone, I find that's really helpful for people with sacroiliac pain or lower back pain or any hip problem, because it drives the femur bone better into the hip socket. which is really important for the nerves and for the conveying of yes, of the signals of the nerves to the muscles, and also for firming up the joints. So that's a really good place and very interesting place. You really do have to wriggle that belt right onto the tip of the heel for it to feel effective. And then the third place is with the belt on the arch of the foot. And that I really like because as you pull down on both sides of the foot and you resist the arch of the foot up into the belt, still keeping that broadness of the toes and extension of the heel, it's like the whole leg gets this extension. It's rather wonderful feeling. So I would encourage you to try all of those three options. I did demonstrate another option, but I'll do that in class this week if you remind me. And the other option, which I've got down here, which I nicked from Austin, Texas Yoga Institute, they're always coming up with brilliant. Oh, hang on, I've got to go this way. Here we go. So they're always coming up with brilliant tweets. So follow them on their Austin, I think it's Austin Yoga or something. You'll find them AUSTIN. They're friends of mine, colleagues out there, and they do brilliant posts about different ideas. Here we've got another option. You see here she's quite stiff in the back of that leg, that down leg, and she's using a sandbag to get that thigh to release down a bit more. But then there's a real convergence of belts. We've got the outstretched leg, the leg going out to the side is hooked into a strap which is against the rope wall, but if you had a banister or something or a door handle, you could put a rope on there. And then the other leg, there's a belt that goes around the outstretched, the right leg hip and down over the left foot, and that keeps the outer waist long. It stops the that right buttock of hers from contracting up towards the waist, so it keeps all of that. And then she's also got something to push that foot into to create more length in the back of that leg. So that's another option there, Marilyn, if you wanted to try that. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to question 2. Now, this was about Shirshasana, and somebody else, Rita, put in a question about her wrist. So I thought I'd combine these two because if you look at the picture here, so actually, sorry, I'll read the question first. With, oh, thanks, Hannah. Yes, so Hannah has said about, I'll just go back to the Supta Padangusthasana. Hannah said that she remembers a senior teacher saying that the belt over the ball of the toes highlights the muscular action. Belt over the heel highlights the skeletal action. Yes, exactly. So one is muscle, one is bone. Yes. I love the way my sister puts things. It makes so much logical sense. Right, so now we've got Shirshasana. So Shirshasana, which part of the head do you place on the floor to protect the neck? And then Rita came in with this question. In wrist preparation, when trying to cup my hands to prepare for Shirshasana, sorry, I'm just going to move my screen up, but it might go wrong. Hang on, because I'm trying to see where I am. No, I'm not going to move anything. My wrists don't reach the floor. Okay, so if you look at this photo here of my sister in Shirshasana, it's quite an interesting one. It actually, I was going to do this variation anyway, and then I realised that she's showing it on this photo. She's holding a brick. She's not cupping the hands. So I'm going to go over to my floor now. Hang on, I've got to find the right. Yes, there we go. Sorry, I've got to change cameras. So I'm going to keep that picture there to remind you. So when you take Shirshasana normally, and oh, by the way, if the sound fades in and out, it's just because I had another technical problem this morning with the microphone, so I might sound a bit faded away, but hopefully you can still hear me. So if I take my brick, okay, if you're trying to keep the wrist down, all right, and when you go to put your head down on the floor, the wrist starts to lift. It's shoulder work. It's also that extension of the arm. So make sure that when you put your hands down, and I'm really, really strong on this, don't ever do this, okay? Because it's kind of disconnected. What you have to do is you have to think, and I'll never forget this because Geeta said this once. She said, when you put the elbows down, the wrist down for Shirshasana, it should be as if you're cutting a cake. because we always talked about food in yoga classes. I don't know why. She loved talking about food. Um, but when you put your elbows down, you can see that your elbows are under your shoulders. You don't need to measure it. You've got your eyes. Have a look. So you put your elbows down and then you slice down. So actually you can interlock the fingers once you put the hands down. Slice down and extend the forearm towards the wrist with the fingers slightly elevated like that. So you're trying to get that wrist to go longer. Then when you bring the hands in, you have to then repress the whole of the forearm, wrist down. Okay? Now, if you wanted to train yourself to do that a bit better, if you're having problems there, one of the ways you can do that is with the brick. So here what you do is you bring it's this part of the hand here, it's the last knuckle. You wrap that around the brick on each hand. You squeeze the brick between your hands and you roll the inner forearm down towards the floor. Because this is the other thing that you have to watch, is that when you bring your hands down, you don't roll out like that. So you bring the forearms down, you roll the forearms in, and then you press the hands down. Now, the crown of the head, it has to go straight down now, because otherwise, if you're here, you're going to be pulling that brick in the wrong place. So you bring the crown of the head down, pull the brick into the back of the head, and press the wrist down. It's mindful practice. So as you go up, you keep those wrist bones pressing down and pulling that brick into the back of the head. And that will teach you, that work of keeping the wrist down as you go up. And you have to learn how to go up slowly. So practice against the wall, walk in. As soon as you feel that disconnection in the wrists, stop, analyze, repress, and start again. Okay? So that method you can do at the wall. You can put the brick against the wall with the fingers behind. Okay? Or just practice the preparation, the walking in, and work out at what point it is that your wrists start to go. Okay? Alright, so that's Shishasana. Next question. So here we go. This is Jason's. Now, Upavishta Konasana. There we go. There's me in leopard print leggings again. So Upavishta Konasana. I struggle with Upavishta Konasana. I'm sat on my sacrum rather than buttock bones. My legs fall out and I battle to keep them straight. The bend itself feels quite uncomfortable in the hips and in my legs. I don't seem, hang on, I can't see that next bit because my screen is blocking it. Oh no, hang on. Yes, okay, so basically this is a difficult pose. This is difficult pose. All of these L-shaped poses in the beginning are difficult, especially with tight hamstrings. So let's go on to the picture round. Oh, there I am. So I'm just trying to, so I'm still playing around with this software. Let's see if I can get the other camera. There we go. So you can see me now. I'm talking. I haven't gone away. Let's just move me over there. So I've got 3 different things here to show Jason and to show other people that struggle with that pose. The top 2 poses are really ways of getting more opening in the groins to prepare for Upavishta Konasana. So that obviously you've got Virabhadrasana 2, and you can see that extension between the back leg and the bent leg there is going to prepare you for wide leg extensions such as Upavishta. Then you've got the second photo is Prasarita Padottanasana. Obviously it's the same shape, all right? And you can incrementally walk the heels further out and get more opening in the groins there and prepare yourself with all of the actions, all of the instructions from the standing poses. Then I've done this one at the bottom. Sorry about my great big pink bottom there. That's the way the photo came out. So I'm on 2 blocks because I'm kind of guessing that Jason's probably on 2 foam blocks, and if not, he probably should be. But I'm going towards the wall there, and I found this pose very difficult in my early years. I've got my feet against the wall and I'm going forwards towards the wall to go up, to try and give myself a bit of movement of that sacrum in. and using the wall as support. So I'm going to show you something else here because someone else asked a question, I think it was Rita again, about hamstrings. So let me go over to my studio. So hamstring work and Upavishta Konasana, I'm going to show you on a couple of phones. Let's turn my mat around actually, so there you go, to see from the side. So I think what he's saying is that he tends to roll back quite a lot. So if that's happening to you, you need to sit higher up. And I tend to, when I've got stiffer people, I tend to sit them off the mat so they can keep their feet on the mat because it gives a better sense of purchase. If you have access to two belts, that's another option. And start with the legs bent. Start with the legs bent, okay? In flexible people, if I tell you to bring the buttock bones back, you'll overdo. You actually need to keep your buttock bones down, the buttock flesh moving down. Otherwise, you flop over, there's no grip. You can hurt your hamstrings that way, okay, the flexible ones. The stiffer ones, if I said to myself, right, I'm going to pull my buttock bones, I'm going to keep my buttock flesh down, I don't go anywhere. I have to have a little bit of movement back with the buttock bones to allow for that sacrum to move forwards. This is what he's talking about here. It will be this position, okay, like that. So if you start with the legs bent to give yourself a chance to move that sacrum in, then you take a couple of belts, and you bring one belt over each foot, like that, and you hold firmly, and then you push out into that belt. And let's just put the belt on the heel bone, for example, for that skeletal action. And then you push out into the belt like that, and you've got something to pull against so that you can lift the chest and hopefully move the sacrum in a little bit more, okay? Now, if you had tight hamstrings and this was starting to strain, then yes, you can put a little wedge of blanket underneath each hamstring so that the hamstring's got something to push down towards. But what you don't want to do is have that wedge so high that it pushes the thigh up. And somebody asked a question about hyperextended knees. Don't put a lift under the knees because the knee isn't the problem. Hyperextension comes from lack of action in either the calf or overaction, one of the two, in either the calf or the hamstring. So if your knee is hyperextending, which means that it's overstretching at the back, put a small lift under the fattest part of the calf and press down really hard. In fact, you can even put, let's get a block. I'm only showing on one leg just to give you the demo. Obviously you do it on both legs. You can even put something under the heel and press the calf down, and it will improve your if you just keep supporting the knee, nothing's going to change. It's going to stay the same. Nothing's going to change because now the calf and the thigh don't have to do anything. You're just supporting a problem. If you put the lift under the calf or under the head of the hamstring, so up here, then you'll find that the knee's not bothered at all. Not bothered at all. But the work will be there in the upper or lower part of the leg to create that action, okay? And then the other thing you can do is if you've got, this is back to our Upavishta Konasana again, and I don't have a sofa to show you, but imagine that I had a sofa here. So there would be the wall, there would be the edge of the sofa. You put your feet against that sofa and hold underneath the sofa or hold on top and just stay there, just bringing yourself forwards for a few minutes. You know, if you've got, you know, a laptop or something there, you can watch a film, just look, you know, stay there for some time, all right, and then you have to obviously bring yourself out. But things like that forward movement to help you keep that top of that sacrum in, but you might need to support the hamstrings if they are really tense. Okay, so I hope that helps you, Jason, and anyone else that's struggling with that pose. Okay, let's see now. Now, the other one was, let's have a look. I'm getting a message from my sister. I just want to double check. Fine, this is. Thank you very much. Good. So, another question I had was about Setu Banda. So, I took this photo rather quick. I had to put it on self-timer because I'm on my own. So, I had to run into the pose. So, I hope that looks okay. But I think it gives you a general idea of what, I think it was Sarah that was asking about this one. We had the option of practicing Setu Banda in yesterday's class. Are your legs supposed to remain active throughout? Feet flexed, back thigh bones pushing down to the floor. I feel it's a very energized asana, which is great, but I'm not sure whether you're supposed to hold the grip or adopt more of an alternating tense, relaxed pattern when it's practiced as a dynamic pose. Well, the thing about this pose is it's hard work. You do have to work the legs quite strongly if you're doing the unsupported pose. This is supported, actually, because I've got the brick there. But the unsupported pose would be with the hands on the back in proper Setu Bandha Shavasana. So here, if I don't work my legs, it goes into my lumbar. Having said that, you need to, it's an interesting question. Couldn't see the block under the chin. No, it wasn't the block, Catherine. It was the, sorry, going back to, just had a question come in from Catherine about, so the block was under my heel bone and the roll blanket was under the head of the calf, the fattest part of the calf. Catherine, thank you for your question there. So, yeah, so in Setu Bandha, in this version that we were doing without the bolster support and what have you, there are different versions. The legs have to work quite strongly, okay? However, you need to make sure that you detach yourself so that because it is one of those poses that is both mindful, quietening and energizing at the same time because of the position of the chest, the arc of the chest, and the position of the head. So it is like if you were imagining Setu Bandha, for example, shoulder balance, Shavasana, shoulder balance. The head is inwards, looking towards the chest, but the legs are working really hard to extend the body up. The shoulders are working, but there's a contemplative aspect to it as well. So it's both energizing, as she said, and relaxing at the same time. So in this version here, yes, the legs have to work very hard. The top thigh bone, so it's not the back thigh bones because it's all one bone. The head of the thigh bone presses down and the legs extend away. And eventually the toes come to the floor and you bring your hands onto your back for proper Setu Bandha Shavasana. But my take on it is that when I'm in the pose and I've done that work for the first couple of minutes maybe, I then start to detach from the work, but it's still there. So it's quite difficult to demonstrate. In fact, it's impossible to demonstrate how that works. It's an internal feeling where you detach yourself from the work, but it's still there. It becomes effortless effort, like the Yoga Sutra. Effortless effort. Okay. So, yes, let's see now. Let's go to question 5. Now, this was a question about pranayama from Karen. But I wasn't going to answer any questions on pranayama because this is really about asana practice. However, I just wanted to put this in here because it's an interesting question and I don't mean to be rude, but my question back to Karen would be, well, what do you think it is? Do you practice pranayama? So pranayama is a very experiential process, as is everything. So I could tell you what the purpose is, but that might not mean anything to you because your interpretation of what my description would be might be different, if you see what I mean. But I will tell you from BKS Iyengar, pranayama teaches the aspirant to regulate his breathing and thereby control the mind. Okay, so it's one of the processes that we use to go inwards. So we know that, or many of us know that yoga is an eightfold path. So asana practice, which is what this Q&A is really about, because I'm not going to talk about philosophy yet in any great detail. I will touch on certain things, but I'm not an expert on that at all. So I'm, giving sort of insights that you can follow up. But it's one of the it's the fourth limb to the 8-limb path, which takes us towards meditation, concentration, absorption. So, and it talks about pranayama actually in the Yoga Sutras. So Yoga Sutra 134. Prachadana Vidarana Bhyamva Pranasya. I hope I've said that correctly. By maintaining the pensive state felt at the time of soft and steady exhalation and during passive retention after exhalation. And the meaning of that phrase is the way to help you avoid the obstacles, to get rid of impediments. One of the ways, and there are several different ways that Patanjali describes, is through pranayama. Okay, so I would encourage you to start your practice and discover for yourself. Sorry, I'm just getting back to the. There we go. Just discover for yourself how pranayama makes you feel, because it's a very experiential process, as I've said. Go to a teacher if you can that teaches it well, or buy the book Light on Pranayama. The instructions are all there, and start your practice very, very simply with breath awareness, and find out what comes to you. Okay, rather than me saying to you, oh, you get this benefit and you get that benefit. Go and practice, find out for yourself. Okay, but in our system, as you know, we don't teach pranayama formally until the student has had some mastery of yoga asana. So maybe a year's practice, or depending on their ability, or how much they practice. If it's once a month for a year, that's not going to be very good practice. But if it's twice a week for a year, then yes, after 12 months or so, they might be ready to practice pranayama. But in the beginning, simple breath awareness, being aware of your breath, is your step towards pranayama, and you can start there at any time. Okay, so yes, I'm not sure what camera angle. I'm not sure what you mean, Catherine. Maybe tell me that afterwards. Anyway, so let's see now. So if there's any other questions, then you can put them in the chat now. Or I'll save them for our next session together. I do have a few more already in the bank, but I wanted to make sure that this session went okay before I do the next one. I'm not going to be doing this every week. It's probably going to be every couple of weeks, maybe once a month, depending. So yes, if you don't mind waiting for the answer, and you'd like to see some graphics, a demonstration about it, then leave it for the Q&A and I will put it in there. Okay, so any other questions now? I can see Catherine's asked about the block. No, yes, and I've said that the block wasn't under the shin for Upavishta, it was under the heel bone. Okay, all right, well, I think we're there, because the next session that we're going to do is the guided practice. And again, I'll bring in some of the poses that we've looked at today into that guided practice if you're joining me. If you're wanting to join and you haven't got the link, then go to my website, because it's there. Book it. It will be in the confirmation page. The link to the YouTube guided practice is on the confirmation page once you've booked and gone through the payment thing. It's only £1.75, so bargain. Follow that link, and I will see you back here at 10:30, just after 10:30. Okay, thanks very much, everyone. Lovely to see. Oh, I think I've got some new comments. Here we go. Oh, it's just about the camera angle. Yeah, okay, thank you for that. So I'll see you very soon. Take care.